This could be a bias because I am a pastor, and this happened to be one of the very few games that actually had like a church that wasn't just there to exist as the bad guy, but instead it was just like, no, this community just has a church, and some people go to it and some people don't, but it's there. Welcome to Twig, your weekly, geekly, family-friendly news show that tackles everything from the return of the Nindies to farming sims with some games in between. I am Nerdpastornate. I am really the pastor of Checkpoint Church, the church designed with nerds, geeks, and gamers in mind. If you're listening on the podcast version of the show, be sure to give us a good review. Click that like if you're over on YouTube, or come and listen live on Twitch every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Folks, we are going to start with our What Have You Been Watching, Playing, and Reading, and I'm going to let my special guests begin with what they've been watching, playing, and reading, as well as introducing themselves. So take it away.
I guess I don't need to mute myself if I'm going to talk.
Okay.
My name is Wyzen Lemur, or John in real life. As for what I've been playing and watching, I've been working on my MCU watch through. And when I say MCU, I mean like all of it. So I'm working my way through Daredevil season 2 right now. I like it well enough to keep watching it, but it's going to take me a while.
It's good timing with Deborah Ann Wall. We just talked about her with the D&D stuff that happened a couple weeks ago. So good timing with Daredevil and all that good stuff.
I have been playing Creatures of Ava, which is super good. A very good indie game. The story is like just phenomenal. The art is great. The like difficulty ramps up really well. And it's kind of like if Mass Effect Andromeda and Pokemon had a baby.
Yeah, I have been very curious about it. And I remember whenever we first saw the trailer, and I was super interested in knowing more. I do love a creature collector. I'm always curious about how they get out.
Yeah, and I will say there's some like social commentary in it too, if you want there to be. Like you can definitely just like play it and have it be a game, but if you want to look deeper into some of the themes, they're there.
Very nice. I can imagine it looks like a game that would have a strong like ecological vibe. And so I can imagine that being one of the big recurring themes in it.
Right.
Well, I'll bump it up my list. I'm definitely curious about it. And if it's actually, a decent, I feel like sometimes there are just so many of these, like almost, it's not shovelware levels of like just putting them out for the sake of putting them out, but it does feel like we are a bit inundated with farming sims and creature collectors some days. And so I have to be very like intentional about which ones that I pick up.
Yes, that's kind of what I've been figuring out. Creatures of Ava, I mean, I've gotten halfway through the game in like 3 or 4 days.
Oh, wow.
Because it's just that good.
I have been watching all of the anime. I'm catching up, trying to catch up on the season. I did finish Jellyfish last week. Super enjoyed that one. I also picked up a new Let's Play because I just finished a couple Let's Plays, namely 13 Sentinels by the Pixel Partners, which I'm super glad that they did. They're actually just starting up one on Catherine, and I played that game not too long ago, so I'm going to watch their Let's Play of that one. But also, I am starting a Let's Play watch of Barry Kramer from the Game Grumps. He has started playing Dual Destinies. So every couple months, he starts a new Ace Attorney or Apollo Justice game. And this is the second game in the Apollo Justice trilogy. One of the wackiest by far. I cannot wait to see where it goes and how he feels about how that one ends. He's in case 5 at this point. So I'm super excited to continue going on that journey with him. I have been playing Stills Endless Zone Zero. I'm checking in for all of the routine stuff. I'm starting to fade a little bit on the rest of it, but definitely continuing to like do my chores every morning whenever I wake up. I've also been playing a new puzzle game called One Up, which is like Sudoku, but with a fun little twist. If you want to join us over in our Discord, some of us have been playing that over in the video games channel. And just like you, I just picked up a new farming sim. I had been trying to restrain myself and not play it, but I finally gave in and got Fields of Mystery. So I am about 5 hours into that game so far, and hoo boy, that's a good game. I could talk about it for quite a while because I'm pretty addicted to it already. It is what I remember feeling the first time I played Stardew. And that is a high compliment for how much Stardew was important back there whenever it came out. So super intrigued to see where that one goes. And then I have been binging like a madman reading Hunter x Hunter to catch up before they start releasing new chapters. I think I'm almost on chapter 200 at this point. I started 2 weeks ago. So reading them way too fast. I've almost reached my 150 book goal for this year, and it is not September. So I need to probably cool it a little bit on the manga. I'm very sleepy because I keep reading until like 11 o'clock, which doesn't sound that late until you realize that I had to wake up at 4 for kids. So yeah, that is what I have been up to. Looking at the chat, Leanne has been late to watching Umbrella Academy. I've never watched it. And playing the new DLC, or not, I guess it's not DLC, it's called expansions for World of Warcraft. Jay and Leanne has been, maybe not, actually just talking about Daredevil, some Daredevil love there in the chat. Phoenix has been watching not much of anything, reading, got the Kindle working, so going to pick up Left Behind and The Wheel of Time and Defying the Devil, and is playing some Fortnite. DB has been watching the show Supernatural, reading Book of Bill, and playing Dress to Impress over on Roblox. Sugar Haiku has been watching Only Murders in the Building, binged the first season over the weekend. That is one that has been on my list for a long time. Reading nothing but the new book for our book club arrived today. I'm very excited to read that one. And then rolled credits on Pokemon Legends Arceus Bayonetta and started Hogwarts Legacy, and so far loving it. Sneaky has been watching Rings of Power rewatch for season 2 this week, playing Star Wars Outlaws. Did that come out today? And then reading Half a King by Joe Abercrombie. DGC watching Sonic 2 and the Knuckles Show, Chiafuru, and streams and YouTube, and is playing Persona 5 Royal, Honkai Star Rail, and reading fan fiction and the Bible. And we got some love and some confusion for the one-up puzzle. Welcome into Quixote. And Perry came in letting us know he is reading or rereading Axioms in the first in Lindsay Ellis's Numona or Nelmina series, however that is pronounced. And Quixote's been watching Twitch, just Twitch, reading still on Teen Wolf Fanfic Binge and playing DMC5 and Solstice. We got a lot of good stuff happening in the chat, a lot of good games being played, shows being watched, and things being read. As always, I would love to hear more about those things to geek out with you over in our Discord, !Point Discord. That is where all of the best stuff happens here at Checkpoint Church in our digital church building. With that, we're going to get started with some of our new show items, our trending headlines for tonight. The first one revolving around Pocket Camp. So Nintendo is shutting down Animal Crossing Pocket Camp on November 29th, 2024, marking the end of a 7-year run. To soften the blow, they're releasing a paid offline version of the game, where players can transfer their save data and enjoy the same basic gameplay without in-app purchases, though some online features will be unavailable. Reactions are mixed, with some fans sad to see the original go, while others are glad for the offline option. The move fuels speculation about what's next for the Animal Crossing series, possibly hinting at a new game for the anticipated Switch 2. Yeah, did you hear about this one, Wyzen? Did you play Pocket Camp? Do you have any love for Animal Crossing with your love of Sims?
I'm too much of a completionist for Animal Crossing because there's just so much and it's so random that I eventually just give up. But I tried Pocket Camp for a while and I did see this notification come through on my email. So apparently I still have the account somewhere.
I think I played for
one.
maybe a week. Maybe. Yeah, it was one that I was super excited for. I really enjoy Animal Crossing. Probably my favorite would have been Wild World. I did enjoy New Horizons quite a bit. And I've played most of the titles at this point, although some I've played more than others. But Pocket Camp, I just couldn't get into. I didn't need all of the micro stuff, the microtransactional stuff.
Right.
It didn't
had a stock market, and I was like, okay, this is too much.
Yeah, it just didn't quite do it for me. So I am honestly, I'm surprised that it lasted 7 years. I am surprised that Nintendo is taking it away, because I'm pretty sure you can still download Super Mario Run. I don't think they're ever going to get rid of that one. I remember when Nintendo did their big mobile push. I think it started in 2017, and they pushed hard for years. And so it's interesting to see these things sort of fade away and fade into the distance, and Nintendo just to kind of give up on focusing on them. I am excited if this is a sign of something new coming for the Switch 2. I would love a new Animal Crossing entry. New Leaf is definitely up there, one of the best ones there. And I really I think they all have their own little things that they brought to the table and the characters they brought to the table. And I enjoy people that have their favorite Animal Crossing character. That brings me a lot of joy that they've created a sense of not empathy, but just relationship with the cast. And I think that's neat. I think that's interesting, especially in the sim world where a lot of the casts nowadays are kind of forgettable, or just there's so many of them that you don't have time to form the relationship. So it's good stuff.
Right.
And it sure is a huge one. The roster is never ending, it feels. So I think that for games preservation, I'm glad to see that they're keeping an offline option. I'm always going to be supportive of that, and supportive of folks that have invested their time and energy into this. It is nice that they're just not being thrown by the wayside. And so that makes complete sense to me. And it shows that consistently you can say what you want about Nintendo, but they really do like consider their consumer. They are very much a consumer oriented company, and they really do think about what would best serve their folks rather than just the bottom line. And I think that's something to be said of the company. On the other end of the spectrum, maybe somebody that considers their consumer a bit too niche, we're going to talk a little bit about Chick-fil-A. Some of you may have heard this news. In a surprising move, Chick-fil-A is reportedly launching its own streaming platform later this year, according to a Deadline report. The fast food chain plans to dive into the entertainment world with original family-friendly content, particularly in the unscripted genre, and is already in talks with major production companies. Chick-fil-A is said to be investing around $400,000 per half hour of content and has greenlit a 10-episode family game show. While the company hasn't officially commented on these plans, this unusual step puts Chick-fil-A alongside other unexpected entrants into the streaming space like Lyft and Airbnb. Surprise there. I didn't know that Lyft and Airbnb were doing it as well.
Right.
That it really is a strange move, as is already being kind of pointed out in the chat.
It's really weird, and it kind of makes me wonder who like made these decisions and how. I don't know. It triggers my like conspiracy theorist, right? Of like, why? Why? I have questions.
Yeah, what is the reason behind the thing? I go every now and again. I will go to the Chick-fil-A and we'll get a kids meal, and we'll look at the toys they give, and they've always been very heavy on the like edutainment. And so all of their toys, they're like, very rarely are their toys just like purely enjoyable. It's always like, you're going to learn about space today. It's going to be like a book and you're going to read about space. And it's like so interesting, the angle that they take on kids' toys, whereas you currently have like McDonald's doing the Yu-Gi-Oh! Hello Kitty crossover. And so I feel like this is them leaning into that for themselves. They're trying to further implement themselves as being edutainment, as being those that are like for your whole family and to entertain your whole family. And I'm just skeptical as to how they will do that. What names will they get? Who will be the people that will back them? You know, will it be Angel Flicks? like what's going to be the company that's going to actually help them make ends meet and make good content? Because the reality is that like the existence of YouTube makes it so that nobody can do content as good as the people that are doing it already. And that includes in the Christian space. It has no real difference between it. There are people out there that are putting out like, excellent content.
Yeah. There are already Christian streaming services. And that's where, based on their current political stances, I guess we could say, I would wager that it's gonna at the very least lean in that direction. And I'm skeptical.
Yep. I'll be very interested to see if it leans focus on the family style.
That's I've been getting a fair amount of that.
Adventures in Odyssey, that kind of stuff of like our youth, of the stuff that came on VHS and all of that stuff. Like, is this going to be what it feels like, or are they going to try and do something different?
Right. Or are they going to try and like recreate, what was it? Temple of the Lost Rape? I don't know. That Nickelodeon show that was like, you had to learn about explorers and stuff. Yeah. Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Yeah. Well, I think like whenever I think of game show right now, it could just be what my feed is serving me. There are two game shows that still mean anything. And somehow it is Family Feud still means something, and that's purely because of Steve Harvey. And then the
Right.
second game show is anything that Dropout does. And so it's Sam Reich, it's Game Changers, it's that kind of stuff. Like that is about it. Those are the two things that I see. And so I don't know. Maybe they're going to try to make the family-friendly version of Dropout. You got me, but the fact that they're trying to do like unscripted content is intriguing in the world of YouTube and TikTok. Like what's the end game here?
Right.
And why wouldn't they just go to TikTok? Why wouldn't they just try to make exceptional TikTok content? Why would they not Duolingo it and have the cow doing ridiculous things like the Duolingo bird does? Like, it feels like such a weird investment, and it's like 20 years too late. So time will tell, but this one really took us all by surprise. I think that the fact that since this is still just reported, there's a chance that they could pivot out of this quickly, especially since I think most of the reaction has been, but why? Maybe that will cause them to go back to their focus groups and say, maybe not, let's do something else. But alas, who could say? With that, we're going to get into our third of our trending headlines and talk about Indie World. So I don't know if you got a chance to look at the Indie World or Nintendo Showcase Direct stuff today, Wyzen Lemur, but it was 40 minutes that we watched together over on Discord of announcements, trailers, twists and turns, and all sorts of things from Nintendo. It was about 20 minutes of announcements from Indie World, which is a collection of indie games. And then it was about 20 minutes of Nintendo Showcase partner information. So this would be a little bit more established, or at least Nintendo-related companies. And so we got quite a bit. There's a few that stood out to me that I will work through here, but I am curious, were you able to get a chance to watch it?
I did not.
Okay, so I got a couple of things that I think you'll probably be excited for from the direct part. I don't know if you've played Rune Factory before. Did you ever play the Rune Factory games?
I did not, but I have heard about it.
You would super enjoy Rune Factory.
I was going to say, people have suggested it to me, so I might have to.
Considering our main topic for today that we're going to get into next, I think that you would super love those games. And we got an announcement during the Showcase Direct that we were going to have a new Rune Factory game called Guardians of Azuma. And these are essentially farming sims with a really rich RPG story and typically pretty rich fighting and combat. This one in particular really takes that and raises it up, it seems, another notch. So not only do you have your main characters who are farmers and protectors, but also they have special abilities and powers and are doing like epic Final Fantasy fights outside of the town to protect it. So it seems pretty cool. It looks really good. Whenever I first saw it, like I was thinking it might be a new like Xenoblade. Like it looked really nice. And Rune Factory always does a good job of polishing up things. So I was excited for that. So that's one that I think would probably be worth giving some attention. But now you got to go find out all the Rune Factory games because I think you'd super enjoy them. Another one of the highlights from the direct showcase was the Tales of series is getting another remaster. Tales of Graces F, which I actually really don't like the name of. The fact that it's Tales of Graces, that's two plural, and it is driving me crazy. But it's a Tales of game that I have never played. My Tales of experience is really Symphonia. I've played a couple of the other ones in bits and pieces, but the only one I've ever really fallen in love with was Symphonia. So this one looks super fun, and I will consider trying it because I am always curious to know more about those kind of RPGs. From the actual Indie World, that was probably the one that I enjoyed more than the Showcase Direct. There were some good things from the partner showcase, but I was particularly excited about Indie World. They started off with a bang with Balatro. So if you haven't had a chance to play Balatro and you're into poker, then Balatro is the latest like indie game to hit the scene, and it just collaborated with everyone. It collaborated with Dave the Diver, Vampire Survivors, Among Us, and then out of nowhere, in my opinion, Witcher 3. Like, I don't know where Witcher came from in this lineup of indie games, but they're also in that collaboration. So we'll see what comes next because they seem to allude to like, and we're going to keep going. We're going to have even more games that are going to be in our cards. But a weird little way to start it off with that one. We did get another look at Neva. And so if you played Gree, which is a really, really good game, really nice. It's not necessarily a cozy game, but it does have kind of the Zen vibes. I got another look at that one and a bit of an extended trailer on how that one will actually play and some of the story of it. I'm super looking forward to it. The big surprise for me was Coffee Talk is getting a third game. And so we've had Coffee Talk. We had Coffee Talk episode 2, Hibiscus, and now we are having a new Coffee Talk, a new restaurant. It's going to be Coffee Talk Tokyo. I don't know why, if it's going to be our barista that has now moved to Tokyo, or if it's going to be a totally different place. They did kind of tease at the very end that one of the cast from the original Coffee Talk will be showing up. Hendry will be in this game, and so that's pretty exciting. But I really don't know what else they have planned, except for the fact that I'm just super excited for it. I love Coffee Talk. I love Farmie. I miss Farmie. It made me so sad to hear of his passing, but it has made me happy to see his legacy continued on, and hopefully Coffee Talk Tokyo was something at least that he was privy to and excited about, or if he didn't know about it, I think he probably would appreciate that his legacy is going on in the forms of these characters. So that's good. We got another look at Sea of Stars and the DLC that's coming out with that one. I really enjoyed Sea of Stars, and the DLC looks like more of the same, only even better. So I'm super excited for that. And then for Trombone, I don't know if Trombone is here or not, but we did get a new expansion for Power Wash Simulator announced.
I'm excited for that too, actually.
Did you see it? Shrek.
Yes.
So you can clean Shrek's swamp as well as dress as a knight. Pretty ridiculous of an announcement, but
yes.
Hey, who am I to judge?
That's amazing.
So that
Power Wash
happened.
Simulator
and
is a surprisingly, it's a very relaxing game, I will say.
I mean, it took over. People loved it, absolutely loved it. Yeah. And so I think that we will continue to see more expansions like that and more people getting excited about that. But I was
sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine.
They have a VR Power Wash Simulator now.
Oh, yeah. Well, I wonder if it's like all of the expansions together. I don't know if you've seen, I know I mentioned it to Trombone, but I don't know if I knew that you liked Power Wash. Yeah. One of my game devs that I've followed for a little while that has written a book and done a lot of stuff is working on a 2D Power Wash Simulator. So it looks like old school, like Game Boy graphics, but you're washing the buildings.
Okay.
It looks super fun.
Okay.
But yeah, the concept took off. Some other games that are mentioned in the chat, DGC also mentioned Morsels, which was an unexpected first entry from a new dev company that was like a roguelike. I don't even know really how to describe it. It just was a really interesting art style, kind of gross, kind of pixel bit-ish. It honestly reminded me of some SNES games. It kind of looked like a SNES game with just a little bit more polish. And so I'm down for a SNES style roguelike. Sugar Haiku also mentions My Sims. So we did get an official reveal. That has been leaked for a little while now that My Sims was going to be coming to the Switch. That is a Sims game that came out for the Wii originally and then wound up coming to the 3DS and a lot of different consoles along the way. And then there was also a My Sims Kingdoms at one point. And so they are going to be bringing a bundle of both My Sims and My Sims Kingdoms to the Switch. I never got into those, but I am excited to see a lot of people that are excited for them. We also got a Trails remake. That's another thing from DGC, as well as Terry's Collection. I'm not sure what that is. Is that referring to like the SNK stuff, maybe? And then we did get a surprise that the Switch is finally getting a Yakuza game. So Yakuza Kiwami is coming to the Switch. And I will say this about the Yakuza games is once you get one, they are like a plague. They will invade. You will get the rest of them on Switch by the end of the year. I mean, it's like once one game enters a universe, like once they came to Xbox Game Pass, it was like a week later, the rest of them just invaded. So those are games that just, you can't get away from. So I'm pretty excited to see how that one actually plays. I feel like Yakuza Kiwami and Kiwami 2 and Yakuza 0, like those are going to be shoe-ins, but as you get later into the series and the franchise, will they have to make them cloud-based? How will they end up working? It's anybody's guess. Oh yeah, Pizza Tower was also announced. Peglin was a new game that looked, it was kind of like a RPG roguelike game that was based around pachinko. And so pretty fun to see it. I made the comment whenever we were watching it that I would play that one on mobile. I don't know if I'd play it on Switch because I don't really take my Switch places anymore. I'm just not living that life anymore. But I do think that it looked fun enough, and I'm always curious to see how a different system ends up playing and engaging me as a player. Any of those stand out for you, Wyzen, before we move on to our next thing?
The Power Wash is really exciting for me, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the one. So I feel like it's so interesting, that game. It fades into obscurity, and then we'll get a random update, and it'll become the thing.
I'll be like, oh my God. Right.
Yes. Very good. With that, we're going to get into our main topic for today, which is very exciting. So if you haven't already picked up on some of the things that me and Wyzen have been talking about, I'm playing Fields of Mystria right now. Wyzen is kind of a farming sim guru, always playing something new, playing Creatures of Ava right now as well. And so we thought for our main topic tonight, something big would be the first ever, maybe the only ever, maybe the inaugural, if I dare say, edition of the Farmies. And so we're going to be doing the Farmies tonight. Our picks of the best for some categories that we had randomly generated here for the best farming games of certain types. So before we get into those, Wyzen, what is your experience with farming sims? Why farming sims? What is it about them that gets your attention?
For a long time, I was playing like FPS shooters and role-playing games. Like for a long time, my favorites were like Far Cry and things like that. And then life got really difficult and I wanted something more simple. And so I kind of looked at what the options were, and I really want to like Civ 6 kind of games, or like the civilization building games, but they're often too complex. But the farming sim games are simple enough, they're cozy, to be fair, I don't know that I've ever actually like quote unquote finished a farming sim because they seem fairly open-ended to an extent. And my attention span just wanes after a while. But the simulators, they're nice, they're cozy, they're cute, I don't have to think about anything major. And at the same time, I've actually talked to my therapist about this too, because my therapist does like nerd therapy or geek therapy, where we look at like, why are you playing what you're playing? Is it helping? How are you engaging with media? Stuff like that. And we really look at it as like, it's a sense of mastery. At some point in the game, I feel like I've like mastered the mechanics and I've mastered the rhythm of the game, and I can then translate that into what's going on in my life. So for me, it's more than just like, oh, a video game I can check out, right? I can actually use the time to sort of sort through some of the stuff in my head, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah, I think that's a popular thing, is to treat video games as a therapeutic like source, as a way for us to express things. And it's also a way for us to communicate. Like, I think there's something to the Twitch streamer who just talks better with a controller in their hand, right? And I feel like that is something that is very real and very realized. For me, it came down to a lot of just growing up with farming sims. They were the games that I was the most interested in. I'm not an action-oriented gamer. It's not something that I'm particularly drawn to, but what I am drawn to is really good story. And if I wanted a good story growing up, there were really just two options, and that was epically long or farming sims that had really rich stories and romance in them in particular. And so I was drawn to that and interested in that and intrigued with it. And so I wound up renting a bunch of farming sims from the movie gallery and picking them up because they also tended to be pretty cheap games. And so whenever you're a kid trying to buy games on an allowance, buying the hot new thing was a bit more difficult than buying an old random, farming sim that nobody really cared
Right.
about, but you could get for a pretty affordable price. So that's a lot of it that has to do with things. I also think that in lieu of mastery, kind of in that same vein, there is an element of something to be done and something that
Mhm.
has an end. And so, like Animal Crossing, I agree with you. It feels like it's almost endless. It takes so long to complete certain areas of the museum. It takes so long to do this thing, that, or the other. But it's not necessarily that way with all farming sims. There is a reality of like, you can, in some of them, you can get to the end of the mines in Stardew, right? Like you can feasibly do
Right.
that. And you can feel that accomplishment of like, I'm going to stop whenever I get here. I think that's very good. I also think there's the reality of like the end of a day. How many games do we play that have like a day cycle? That's kind of nice as
Right.
well to have like I know that I'm going to be spending 20 minutes on this and then I'm going to go to bed in the game and then I can stop if I want to. And that's
Right.
pretty nice. Good. All
Except for
right. Well,
when you get in
that's
that cycle of like, oh, just one more day, oh, just one more day.
yes, exactly. That is where it gets a little bit unhealthy, and we had to wrestle with them a little bit. But we're going to get into some of our Farmie categories. So the very first one is the best farming sim for relaxation. So which game is it that has provided the most calming and stress-free experience? What is that farming sim? Let's go back and forth. I'll start this one with my pick. And originally we were going to make this kind of a competition back and forth, but instead I think just presenting both of ours will be just fine for tonight. And so my pick for the best for relaxation, some people may debate on this as if this is a farming sim or a life sim, but it is Animal Crossing for me. I think that stress-free is the word that stands out to me, with the exception of the occasional tarantula or bee. Animal Crossing, there are really no stakes. I don't really feel super stressed about things or stressed to meet a quota or meet an expectation. As grubby of a landlord as Tom Nook is, there is no ticking time bomb on my debt. And so it just feels
Right.
like something that I can enter into, spend as much time or as little time as I want to. That's key. Like Animal Crossing, you stop at a certain point, right? And you can really give as much in a day as you want to, or you can just do your
Mhm.
chores and then clock out. And so I think that is also a low stakes, like it's not going to get super addicting. It's not something that's going to take up too much of your time if you don't want it to. It wins that one for me.
Fair enough. Mine is the Pioneers of Olive Town.
That is a good one. The worst acronym in all of the Harvest Moon series, but it is an interesting one. I remember
This is
that
true.
one. That one had a good I liked the actual like map layout of
Yeah.
Olive Town.
And that's what I find so relaxing about it, because usually when I like the most stressful thing to me is like, oh, you're supposed to do the farm stuff and then go forage and then do things in town. And
Mhm.
like the maps are sometimes so big you can't go do all of that.
Mhm.
Like you have to pick one thing to do a day. But with Pioneers of Olive Town, I very quickly develop like a little path that I do every single day
Mhm.
through the town or through the little forest trail and then through the town, and it's a lot easier to get all the things done.
Very nice. Very good. All right. Well, we've got 2 entries there for our best for relaxation. Let us know what might have been your pick. I don't have any deep thoughts on our most realistic farming category, which game offers the most authentic and detailed farming mechanics, but I'll let you kick us off. What was your pick for this one, Wyzen?
This might be a very autistic answer, but Farming Simulator 2022.
Well, good. That was my answer too. I
Okay,
was like,
cool.
I don't
I
know,
wasn't sure if
realistic
we were
farming.
going
It
like
doesn't
literal,
get much
specific,
more
like,
realistic.
you
Yeah.
know, but yeah, that I played a little bit of that, and I think that was one of the few where you could like adjust the speed of the day and how fast the day goes,
Mm.
which that is a nice feature,
Mm-hmm.
I will say.
Yep. Yeah, that one really gets heavy into the sim crunch. And so I do think that it's got that realistic element and a lot of the stuff that plays into it. So I'm glad we were
Mhm.
on the same wavelength with that one. Next category is best storyline. Which farming sim has the best or the most engaging and immersive? I am curious to hear your answer. I did mention that I've been playing these since I was a kid, and so I have a nostalgic answer for this one. But mine is going to have to be Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life. For those of you that have never heard me geek out about A Wonderful Life, I could do it for quite a while. I wrote a whole nerdy sermon on it. I love that game so much. It is so very special to me. And what I truly remember about it, and what I think makes it such a good storyline, is that, like many farming sims, the basic gist at the beginning is that you do inherit a farm from your father who passes, and you move from the city to the farm. It's very stereotypical there. But the actual narrative of the game is super interesting. You actually grow old. You truly do live a wonderful life. You develop a family. You get gray hairs and all this sort of stuff. And the first moment I realized like that it was doing something different was, spoilers for the end of the first year of A Wonderful Life, if you've never played it before. But there is this wonderful old couple in town, and it's a husband and wife, and the wife dies at the end of the first year. And that
that was sad.
doesn't happen in a farming sim. Like that
No,
is not
exactly.
a expectation that a character is going to die. And
Right.
somebody does. And it's not a big deal. Nobody makes it out to be a big to-do. It's not some huge tragedy. She dies of old age, and that's the story. And it was like it really immersed me in like oh yeah, these are fictional people in this village. This is a real life being lived. So that's my pick for best storyline, and I could go on for hours and hours.
Nice. My pick, and this is one that I really want to get further into, but I keep getting to one spot and then I'm like, oh, I don't want to live this again. But the game is Wildflowers, and you play as that's another one where unexpected things happen, and it kind of touches a nerve close to home right now, at least. And so that's one that I have like in my backlog that I will eventually play. But the story is so immersive, and I think I have such an emotional reaction to it because it's so immersive.
That's one that's on my list. I think Chris maybe was playing it and got me curious about it. So it's been on my roulette list for a while. I'm very excited to hopefully eventually get into it. But yeah, that's good stuff. I love whenever a game can really take it to the next level and actually be like real and raw with the story that they're telling. There are a lot that do really good things with accessibility, but deep stories is different.
True. But if we are including like creature collectors, which I'm not sure we are, I would have to say Creatures of Ava. But
Gotcha. Well, you're getting me curious about that one.
it's a little different. It's a little different. There is no, it's just creature collection. Never mind.
Very good. Number 6, the most customizable farms award. What game offers the most options for customizing and
Wait, did we
personalizing
miss one?
your farm? Oh, did we do? Oh yeah, best graphics and art style. My bad. Best graphics and art style. Which game stands out visually with the best graphics or most appealing art style? And I'll let you lead us off with this one.
I again put Pioneers of Olive Town because it's just sort of that like cutesy art, but it's very bold. Like the colors are bold. I like bold colors in my games. Some games can get a little washed out. I like the more like it's 2D but 3D thing. So yeah, that's my pick.
I'm a sucker for pixel art, and Friends of Mineral Town just had really, really good pixel art. And so not the remake, but the original GBA version, they are simply perfection. The characters, the sprites, the models, the expressions, they just did a really, really good job with all of it.
Yeah.
So that one goes up there for me. I did skip another one. Best community building. Which game excels in creating a strong sense of community and relationships? That's number 4. And I can start us off because my answer is exactly the same. My favorite cast of characters is also Friends of Mineral Town. It has been one of those casts that I just really fell in love with, and I felt like it was actually lived in. This could be a bias because I am a pastor, and this happened to be one of the very few games that actually had like a church that wasn't just there to exist as the bad guy, but instead it was just like, no, this community just has a church, and some people go to it and some people don't, but it's there.
Right.
And I definitely felt an element of like, that is what a lot of games are missing in their community vibes.
Yeah. Mine is A Wonderful Life, actually. That's one of the games where I got like the furthest into it.
Mm.
And part of that was because of the community building. I felt it was a little bit easier to find people, for one thing. Some games, the map is so big and these people's like paths are so wide, I don't even know how to find them half the time. Right. And so A Wonderful Life had a good balance of like, oh, I bet they're in the forest, but maybe they're down by the beach, right? And you can like find out really quickly.
Yep. Yeah,
But
those were definitely, and the characters I think all had really tight relationships with one another, and that was kind of an interesting thing that game did that not many others have.
Right.
Like even some characters just didn't like each other, and that was a fun element too. Good stuff. A good era of farming sims from that era of Harvest Moon in general. Number 6, now we get to most customizable farms. Which game offers the most options for customizing and personalizing your farm?
This one is a game that has created some controversy in its little space, but Coral Island, you can probably customize your farm. I mean, it's probably one of the biggest farm plots that I've seen in a farming sim. So there's a lot of space to do a lot of things. You can have multiple barns, you can have multiple coops, like there's a greenhouse, there's all kinds of stuff. The reason it caused controversy though is that like it kind of came out of beta too soon, or early access. It came out of early access too soon is what it was. And so people were like spending $30 on a game that wasn't technically complete. So it caused a little bit of controversy.
Missing some pretty key features.
Yeah, like there were full on areas of the map that were like not ready. I think that was like very, very early on. But I think they have released since then their 1.1 update.
Well, mine is definitely cheating for this one because probably nobody would consider it a farming sim, but it does have farming elements and it is the most customizable that I can think of. And that's Minecraft. You don't get much more custom than literally being able to do anything anywhere. And so you could put your farm wherever you want in Minecraft, and you can do just about anything with it that you can dream. So a bit of a cheat answer, but an answer nonetheless. Best multiplayer experience. Which game provided the most enjoyable and well-implemented multiplayer features? For me, granted I didn't get that far into it, but what I did, it was a really fun multiplayer experience, and that is Palia. I super enjoyed what Palia did with multiplayer. I enjoyed the crossover, the ability to go to other people's places, and also just to raid together, venture together. I enjoyed that aspect of it.
Gotcha. I might have to recheck that one out. I don't do much in the way of multiplayer. So my answer was Animal Crossing because you could like go visit other people's islands and stuff like
That's
that.
a good one.
Which is about my level of what I want to interact with on online.
Yes. Well, Nintendo would be flattered to say that you think anything they did multiplayer is good. They would just be tickled pink to hear that. Next category, most diverse crops and livestock. Which game offers the widest variety of crops, animals, and farming activities? You kick us off this time.
I said A Wonderful Life again with that creature thing in year 2. I mean, there's like prescribed combinations of stuff, but those combinations there's like, I don't know, 85 different plants or something.
Yep, we are on the same wavelength. That is my exact answer, and it's because of the plant creature that combines them at the game. So, yeah, a pretty huge variety, especially just with completely made up crops. So you don't get much better than like fanfic crops. As random as they get. Next up is our best economic system. Which game has the most satisfying and well-balanced economic system for managing your farm's finances? I think I'll start us off this time. And I honestly didn't have a good answer for this one. It took me a while of like scratching my brain trying to think of any economic systems that I've enjoyed in a farm sim. And kind of like I alluded to earlier, I really do think it comes down to Animal Crossing. The bells, it's the one thing you can do. You can plant trees, you can make money so easily, you can do things easily. You don't have to do much to make money in that game. You can really, it just works out very easily. So I went with Animal Crossing.
We are, again, on the same wavelength because I also said Animal Crossing for the same reasons, because like sometimes you struggle early on in the games, and you have to like forage for 5 days to get enough to buy the seeds to plant, and by then like the season's half over.
Right.
But yeah, there's that one. And then sometimes there are kinder settings where it's like, we'll start you with 9 turnips or whatever.
Yep. Yep.
So.
And then, you know, there are rocks in your town that once a day you can hit a rock and it'll randomly just shoot out like 8 bags of money, you know. Like it was just good in that way. It did a lot of generous things to make everything more feasible. So that one gets a big thumbs up from me. Our last but not least category, the most addictive gameplay. Which game is the hardest to put down, keeping players coming back for more? I'll let you kick us off.
I kind of have a tie on this one, and that is Stardew and Coral Island. Stardew for the like nostalgic classic reasons, and Coral Island because despite the controversy, I keep going back to it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've got to go with Stardew as well. That was my pick. I feel like it is the one that really cemented the one more game trope. It's the one that like you could just do one more day so easily, keep going with it. And so it was the one that took the cake. So there we go. There is the Farmies, the first ever, the official Farmies. These are the best games. They are incontrovertible. You cannot argue with us. We are right. We are the be all end all of this, and we have now decreed it so until the next game comes out. Fields of Mystria is really taking the cake for me so far. I will probably end up putting that one high up on some of these lists or coming up with something new entirely. Yeah. I almost put it for my best graphics and art style because it has that pixel art, but in an anime 90s like style. And so I am really loving it. But good stuff. Thank you, Sugar. I appreciate that you enjoyed this segment and enjoyed this part of the Farmies, as I said, the first ever. With that, we're going to get into our next segment of the show and everybody's favorite Cryptic Critiques. It is time for everyone's favorite game, Cryptic Critiques. This is the game show of bad reviews for beloved games. I've scoured the internet to find 3 of the funniest bad reviews I could for popular games, and I will deliver them one at a time to our special guest, Wyzen Lemur. Play along with us, see if you can figure it out before clue number 3, but if you're watching live, remember not to send your guesses until the guest gets to give their final choice at the end of the 3rd prompt. Are you ready, Wyzen?
Yes.
All right. These are going to be the 3 prompts. Remember, these are bad reviews for beloved games. Number 1, it felt like they wanted to do 3 different plot lines, but they couldn't commit to any of them. Felt like they wanted to do 3 different plot lines, couldn't commit to any of them.
That could be a couple games.
Yep. Weak story to start or a strong story that's going a lot of different ways. Yep. Yeah. That's good. Any like inkling or leaning from the first one, or ready for the second?
The first one that jumps to mind is Dave the Diver.
Okay. Yeah, you're not wrong. that describes Dave the Diver so well. In fact, we did Dave the Diver before, and I think that might have been one of the clues. Recently. Very good. Very good. All right, on to our second prompt, see if that stays. A walking sim where a bunch of stuff happens, but it all leads to nothing. Yet I enjoyed myself, and now I'm mad about it. A walking sim where a bunch of stuff happens. It all leads to absolutely nothing. Yet I enjoyed myself, and now I'm mad about it. This is someone who's very conflicted.
Very conflicted. A walking sim where a bunch of stuff happens. I don't know.
All right. Kind of threw you off the trail a little bit. So I will say that number 3 is going to give it away. So
okay.
If you didn't get it from number 1 or number 2, you're probably going to get it from number 3. It is a bit of a meme answer, but it was too good not to put in here because it had me cracking up for quite a little while. The third hint, do not believe this game's lies. There are like maybe 2 fires in the whole thing. Do not believe this game's lies. There are like maybe 2 fires in the whole thing.
Firewatch.
It is indeed Firewatch. You got it. Chat's in the clap. Yep. I knew you. The third one has to give it away, but it's just too good. It's such a good point. There are barely any fires in this game.
Happens and it leads to nothing, and now I'm mad about it. That makes sense.
Yeah. People were very mixed on this game. As much as I say that normally
Yeah.
these are bad reviews of beloved games, I was surprised that people did not really love this game. I love Firewatch. I thought it was such a good experience, a great walking sim, an absolute like masterclass of how to do a walking sim. But yeah, people were not happy with how it ended. And it was a weird ending, but I don't know. There was one person that knocked on the voice acting, and I was like, you've lost your mind. You've absolutely lost your mind if you don't like the voice acting in this game. It really doesn't get much better. It is like the pinnacle of chemistry.
Yeah.
Between two leads. Well, that is our cryptic critique. So again, chats in the clap for Wyzen, nailing that one. And we are going to get into our next segment of the show and my personal favorite.
At this point in nerd history.
That's right. It is time for At This Point in Nerd History. These are games, movies, TV shows, anything that might have released on this exact day throughout time and space of August 27th. We'll start with some games, and we've only got one movie. In the world of gaming in 2020, the Don't Nod classic Tell Me Why. 2019, Control released. In 2015, we actually had three very disparately different games. Until Dawn, Lara Croft Go, and Fran Bow all released on the same day. In 2009, Punch-Out was released for the Wii in Australia. 2007, the final Metroid Prime game, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, was released in the US. In 1994, Mother 2, otherwise known as Earthbound, is released on the Super Famicom in Japan. In 1992, we had two games released in Europe, Super Castlevania 4 and Super Mario Kart. Those are some of the games that came out on this day. It was really a pretty stacked day, I gotta be real. August 27th, we got a lot of games in there that are pretty hype. And then a movie that dropped on this day in 1998. Well, less the movie dropped and more the movie hit a milestone. The movie Titanic became the first film in North America to earn more than $600 million on this day. So set a new milestone for itself on August 27th. I'd had to look up when it actually came out to see like how long it took for the movie to make $600 million. Because your guess is as good as mine.
So the only thing that stands out is Titanic because I've never seen it.
Really? Now that is fascinating.
Yeah.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I was 8 when it came out. I was a little too young. And then I was like, ew, it's gross. And then it kind of faded out of popularity.
Yeah. It's
Or at
definitely
least, like-
one of those movies that is like a classic that I don't know if I'll ever show Nora. Like, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's if she really wants to watch it, she can go find it. Like, I'm not probably going to be like sitting her down and being like, all right, it's time for you to officially see this movie. It's a real classic. Like I never had that moment with a lot of the films that I wound up seeing later in life. Like my dad never sat me down and was like, all right, here's looking at you, kid. You're about to watch a classic. Like that just wasn't, I don't know. I don't know if that happens or not. Joanna says most of us were too young, but we watched it anyways. That's also hashtag quite true as well. This was a sneak in and watch it film as well. Yeah, exactly, Perry. Who didn't sit him down and force him to watch Citizen Kane? Yep. Any of those classics. Like I said, all of those I wound up seeking out later in life. So I think this will be one of those that maybe Nora turns out to be a movie buff and watches it some other time, but this is not one that I'll be showing her. Now, Digimon movie, I will be showing her Digimon movie. That's one that's a must-have. She will be watching it as many times as it takes for her to realize just how much of a masterpiece it is. But good stuff, good games, good movie there. And we are going to go next into our next segment, which is... This is upcoming releases, things that we are excited about coming out in the next week or so. Normally we go back and forth. Wyzen, do you have anything for this one?
I haven't really been paying attention, to be honest. And my usual like notifications have not been coming through because my phone just got fixed this evening. So I've been using a phone that doesn't have all my stuff on it.
All good. All right, well, I can list out 3 things that I'm looking forward to that are coming up. The first one is one that I've been pretty excited for a while. It's a meme game that's going to be coming out and it has been teased, at least on my TikTok, for years at this point, and that is Squirrel with a Gun. I feel like I shouldn't have to explain the game at all. It is a squirrel with a gun. It is hyper-realistic. It's like Goat Simulator style graphics. Like, it's meant to look like real people and a very real squirrel holding an extremely real gun. Very curious to know what this one actually does, if it is actually funny, or if it truly is just like a proof of concept of like, we made a game about a squirrel with a gun called Squirrel with a Gun, and here is Squirrel with a Gun. I think that's pretty likely what it'll end up being. But that officially and finally releases as a kind of surprise drop. I don't think anybody was expecting Squirrel with a Gun this week, but here it is. As I mentioned earlier in my watching segment, I'm super looking forward to Catherine Let's Play by Pixel Partners. I'm a big fan of watching Let's Plays. I'm a big fan of the Pixel Partners. They're a YouTube channel that I really enjoy watching, and I played Catherine just long enough ago that I still remember the gist of it, but I'm super going to enjoy watching somebody else play it. So I will get into that story as well. See their struggles. Catherine is one of the hardest games I've ever played in my entire life, up there with Void Stranger. Those kind of Sokoban pushing puzzle games, they're so difficult. And so it'll be fun to watch them really struggle with this one. And then the third game that I'm super looking forward to is Crypt Custodian. Crypt Custodian is a charming Metroidvania about cleaning up the afterlife. Play as Pluto, a mischievous cat who has died and is sentenced to be the afterworld's janitor forever. Hang out with other doomed ghosts, battle beasts, and explore a vastly expansive landscape. It's giving Spiritfarer without the kind of deep vibes. It's just kind of the funny vibes. So I'm here for Crypt Custodian. It's one that looks like a fun little indie that I'll add onto my roulette and hopefully get to sometime soon. With that, we are going to get into our final segment of the show, which is, of course, our meme of the week this week is posted by yours truly, and I so appreciate all of the love and support about this one. I saw this on my feed and I had to post it. This is Chapel Gnome in the Baldur's Gate 3 character creation screen somebody made. Chapel Roan, however, it's Chapel Gnome. It's an easy, quick joke, and it really does look so much like her. If you haven't seen, Enzoi is a Sims clone that has come out not too long ago as like an early access, and people have been making hyper-realistic characters. And after seeing all of those and then seeing the BG3 character creator used so aptly, made me very happy. So if you would like to be considered for our meme of the week, in order to utilize that or be considered for that, be sure to join our Discord server, !Discord, over in the chat at any point in time or linked down below. And go to our Memes and Goofs channel. Post your memes, post your funny stuff. I typically go with whatever gets the most reactions from the past week. So there you go. That is Chapel Gnome. You have now seen it. You cannot unsee it. It permanently lives in your brain. With that, we're going to get into our closing part of the show. This has been The Week in Geek. Wyzen, if you are there and are not dealing with dog, do you have anything that you would like to say as a kind of shout out? Where can people find you wrapping things up?
I was dealing with dogs. Sorry about that.
You're good.
You can find me on Discord with Wyzen Lemur. That's probably the best way to find me right now. I do have a TikTok, same name, but I don't use it much. But you can send me stuff, I guess. Thanks for having me on tonight, and I had a good time.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for being here. Appreciate you. This has been Twig, folks, your weekly Geekly family-friendly news show delivered live on twitch.tv/checkpointchurch each and every week, keeping your family connected to the world of nerdy news. If you watched this far, you likely enjoyed this one. So remember to give us a 5-star on your podcast app. Click that like button. Recommend the show to your favorite nerds out there. We appreciate everyone that watches the show, that supports the show, that gives views or shares it, any of those things. We want to give an extra special shout out to those who subscribe over on Twitch and help support us financially, help support Checkpoint Church financially. So thank you to Zano Calrissian, Hman1009, Tina Christina P, Sneaky Pig 633, Deacon Shannon LS, Maybe 30 Bat, Sugar Haiku, Buish, Trombone Dalek, Jate Live, DJC 12 1996, Yakeem 4752, Perspective, Cutie 42, The Animal Art, Nerdpastornate, Twilight 27, Gobi Church, DJ Courageous, J.M. Leon 42, The Phoenix 2192, Wyzen Lemur, and Mindful Marlena. Thank you so much for your support. Is there going to be Twig next week? Yes, there will indeed be Twig next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, and I am looking forward to it. With that, we're going to end this show, as we always do, with our 3 things that we believe to be true about every single one of you out there. Whether you believe in God, don't believe in God, go to church, don't go to church, hate God or hate church, we still believe them to be true about you. Number 1, that God loves you, like really, really loves you. Number 2, we love you. We want community with you. That's what we're doing here. And number 3, that you, yes, you matter. You are a person of sacred worth. The world's a better place. Why? Because you are in it. Folks, with that, until the next time that I see you, whether it be for another stream tomorrow, playing through in Stars in Time, whether it be on our Discord right here, right now, or whether it be for our YouTube channel, for our Nerdy Sermon on Sunday, whatever, I look forward to seeing you then. Until next time, bye-bye!